Hey, Spuddies, PotatoMcWhiskey here, and welcome back to Stellaris, where we're playing as the Children of Blurgle. And we have a little bit of empire management to do. We are pretty close to getting our next phase of the quest for the Toxic God. I did lower funding, but I'm tempted to put the funding back up now that we have finished our war. This will put a bit of a strain on our economy, but I do have a plan to fix our economy, and it kind of revolves around the planet Evexus. Now, this is a planet that we conquered from some primitive people, and the big problem that we have on this planet is we have stellar culture shock, we have a crime lord deal, we have martial law, slaves are radicalizing, we are having to pay for the unemployment. Like, everything has just gone wrong on this planet, and so I have decided that the slaves on this planet will be going over to Iriamus 2. However, I cannot move them yet until they leave or lose the stellar culture shock effect. And then we'll turn Evexus 3 into a really nice core world. Now, we also have a whole bunch of tomb worlds that we just conquered. Now, we do not have very good habitability on these planets, but a lot of the pops that we just conquered were, in fact, Polvenites. Now, Polvenites are, they are, what's the word I'm looking for here? They are lithoids, so they can actually live on these tomb worlds pretty reasonably. So I think I'm going to find one of these worlds, probably the largest, least built one. Here's a really good candidate, Vril Zag, and this I'm going to turn into another one of those thrall worlds. This will be a tomb thrall world designed, purpose-built for a bunch of new population on all these worlds that we just acquired. I am going to declare martial law. I'm going to declare it a tomb world. And I will also be distributing luxury goods to make this a little bit happier. But beyond that, we need to go ahead and find now on Vril Takar. We're going to basically grab and concentrate our entire slave population onto this one planet. It's going to cost me a lot of energy, but I think this is worth it to do. Now, the exception to that will be robots. Robots are non-sentient. We don't need to move them. But essentially everyone else will be sent to these planets to serve on them, and then we'll keep all these populations here. So now this planet has an overpopulation problem. Well, we can deal with that. The first thing we're going to do is build a whole bunch of these slave huts. I'm just going to slam these down for now. This should help us deal with the housing crisis, get us to bring up stability. Most of the happiness penalty is coming from recently conquered and indentured servitude. So I may look into potentially upgrading some of these species. Like the Polvenites, I might change their rights to be domestic servitude. That's a little bit less bad. But yeah, we need to hoover up all of the population from these planets. It's expensive and it's time consuming to reset all these planets, but I do think that it is worth it. This planet now has a massive 50 slave pops on it, including some robots. Actually, let's resettle those robots to a new world. And then we're going to go through these planets and demolish anything. No, sorry, we're going to disable anything that we don't want to pay for. So anything in here that we don't want to pay for is going to get disabled. And this is just to give us a bit of time to get our economy back together. So I've rebalanced things. Let's have a look at a monthly tick and see what actually happens to our economy. Okay, we're missing a lot of consumer goods, but that's fine. We can deal with that problem. Let's redesignate Cam Prime away from being a foundry world towards being a factory world. This will increase the amount of output. Oh no, it'll reduce their upkeep, but it will also increase our industrial output. We do have another industrial district coming, and we'll also build ourselves the civilian industries, and I'm going to actually put that up a little bit higher. I need that done as soon as possible. A lot of work getting an empire together after a conquest, because we are hoovering up a lot of extra resources and we're not producing as much as we used to. Now, I still need to deal with this planet here. Stability is high, but we're not getting much output in terms of this planet, so I would like to move them over to a planet that has a lot of potential for output. And I suppose before I start losing all my money, that's what I'm going to do. So let's take Evexus and we're going to resettle these. I have to wait. Right, stellar culture shock. All right. Everything in its own time. We've taken care of our consumer goods deficit. We still have a big deficit of food, but that will actually get solved when we start moving population over to Iriamus and we get this planet fully built, because we are building agriculture districts here. So it looks like the stellar culture shock has worn off. Let's go ahead and resettle these guys over to Iriamus 2. I'll leave one population left on their planet so that they have at least one original pop on their home world. Otherwise, what I'll come in here and do, and I will unlock all of these jobs that I locked away earlier. And now we have 19 toilers churning away on amenities here, which is obviously not ideal. We want them to be working on real jobs like anglers. This is just a massive slave world, just filled to the gills with population. There's 53 pops here. And while this is probably inefficient to do things this way, I think this is reasonable based on our situation. We just need to clear away these planets and make sure that at least some of our planets are making a surplus that can cover for the other ones. So let's have a look at our economy now that we've made those changes. Hopefully, That puts us, yeah, okay, so now we're only in the red on energy. We're not trading anything, so we do have resources we could sell. So that has stabilized our economy. And now we need to think about how do we finish this off. We'll be getting a little bit more population room here. I think the best thing to do might be to put down a couple of slave huts to make sure that we have population room, and then just to slap down like maybe an extra overseer or two. And then just fill the rest of it with strongholds, so this planet will provide us with military capacity so that we can have more ships floating around the galaxy. Oh, tensions between super blurglings on Voltac R. So I think my population have started to modify themselves. So now we're getting tensions between the super blurglings and the blurglings. You can see here, these guys have self-modified themselves. They've become an offshoot of our species. They added the wasteful trait, the talented trait, venerable, and self-modified. Oh, but they do have tomb world habitability. That is actually really, really big. I could apply that template to all of my tomb worlds. I see. I need to have a whole lot of new tech. Regardless, I could settle tomb worlds with these guys now, although I don't know how the conflict between them and my regular people are going to go. I mean, 80% habitability is within the range of what I would consider to be, let's settle this. So I think I'm going to wait for my economy to stabilize a little bit. Oh, super blurglings have been massacred. So there seems to be some sort of infighting going on inside my empire between the people who have modified themselves and the people who have not modified themselves. We finished terraforming the planet here into an ocean world, so we'll get that colonized as well. We've managed to completely stabilize our economy after conquering a new land, which is honestly a bit of a feat. And now we're going to be able to start really putting this empire back together in the way that it belongs. And once we do that, we'll be actually producing a much larger surplus across these worlds and then being able to expand out even more. Right now, our problem is just there's a period of difficulty and stabilization after you expand in war in Stellaris, which is kind of working quite well to stabilize and protect the galaxy from like getting a runaway, super predator species that completely conquers everything, unless you literally build your civilization around that. Now, importantly, we also have the next phase of the quest for the toxic god. So the tale of night effervescent garters, a destination. If thou seeketh these coordinates, thou shalt find something that may entice thee. Long has been the study of the AI Sinople, but the brave efforts of the brave knights have not been in vain. An encrypted portion of its hard drive has yielded a clue, an unexplored system several hundred light years from Luthadriel. Desiring to learn more, the Grand Master commanded Night Effervescent Garters to travel there. So they're going to head off to a system that has yet to be discovered. Okay, so we found the Gatekeeper. After a long and difficult journey, Effervescent Garters arrived at the system Sinople had spoken of, as if waiting at the exit of the hyperlane to await him, to welcome him, was a strange automaton. Brandishing its weapons and systems menacingly, it proclaimed, "Thou who wish to enter the Roboxan system must answer me this question. Why hast this system hath no ood?" Why has this system no food, I guess? The periplus of the fifth planet intersects with a double quasar. You ate it all. I don't know. I'm going to say the periplus of the fifth planet... Nay, okay. Alas, this was not the correct answer. The automaton made a tutting noise and the effervescent garters was vaporized by an unknown weapon. In the moment of despair, the knight's faithful servant, Sweet and Chipper, showed his worth as he resolved to complete his master's quest. "O fearful machine," he cried, "thou hast slain the good knight effervescent garters, but thou shalt not best me." The correct answer is, you ate it all. Ah, thou art wise, for that is the answer contained in my databanks. Thou mayest pass if that does please it thee. The automaton disappears in a cloud of smoke. So I assume it was asking me why there's no food in the system. So the tail knight effervescent, the robot's disciple. And so Sweet Chipper and the Squire entered Roboxan system. There he came upon a planet recently visited by the toxic god, perhaps even as little as a century ago, judging by the telltale signs it left behind. As he entered orbit, a signal was picked up from the surface. "Greetings, I am Ghouls, sub-sentient AI and servant of the noble Sinople, whomst I believe thou knowest. As my designated liege, AI bade me, I have surveyed this planet and discovered much about the mighty swarms which with the toxic entity beset this planet. This information I shall now transmit to thee." A data transfer followed and then another transmission. "My purpose is now complete. I bid thee farewell." An energy pulse was detected at the planet's surface as the drone itself detonated. As Sweet and Chipper returned home, triumphant, he was deemed worthy of knighthood and elevated into the Order. Furthermore, the Order's research unit raised an enticing proposition. With just a few more data points and assuming regular movements on the toxic god's behalf, they might be able to triangulate which region of space to search for its current location. So we could use the swarms as a weapon. This would give us 25% food from jobs in our capital, and a 20% strikecraft attack speed. We could also get our knights to produce additional research, or we could get our knights to produce additional unity. Now, our knights have kind of stagnated. We don't have that many. There's only a few now, so there's not really carrying that much. I think I would prefer to get these empire-wide modifiers. These seem a little bit better. Plus, it also does permanently I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you can see here. It actually allows me to build another district, and the swarms of the deity now gives us extra food on this planet, which is really, really cool. So even though we don't have robotic tech, we are assembling robots. Let's take a look at our factions and see how they feel. We have 4 factions. We have the Xeno Freedom Society, which is what looks to be... what faction are you? I think this might be egalitarian. We have the Burgling Supremacy Bloc, who are xenophobes, I believe. We have the Obedience, Loyalty and Duty Vanguard, who are authoritarians. And then we have the Conclave of Faith and Values, who are our religious/spiritualist faction. So I think we can do something pretty simple here to improve our empire. We're going to make a robotic worker outlaw policy, which will dismantle any robotic pops and armies inside our empire. We do not believe that the flesh is weak. We believe the flesh to be strong. And then I'm going to go through my planets and go ahead and disable or demolish these robot assembly plants, because we are a spiritualist empire, which means we do not use the machines of man. They're also upset about us landing on tomb worlds, which is, that's fine. They can be mad about that. I think the spiritualist faction is the faction that I want to have the most of in my empire, so I'm going to go ahead and promote that faction. This will increase the ethics attraction to this, and it'll increase the amount of population that follows that faction. I also like the authoritarian factory. The only thing they're not upset or they're not happy about is the fact that we don't have any subject empires. So I'm going to go ahead and promote them as well. And that'll bring authoritarianism and spiritualism back in line. But as for the xenophobe and the xenophile factions, I actually don't really care about them. So I'm going to go ahead and suppress them because I want there to be less of those people inside my empire. And so over time, now we should see 40% of our population become spiritualists, 25% become authoritarian. Ooh, maybe actually suppressing that faction was a bad thing. Let me double check here. My slaves are all egalitarians because they believe that, well, a lot of my slaves are egalitarian. But yeah, I don't really want factions that I don't control or that aren't a part of my original vision for this country. So I'm going to suppress both of these. Most of my people should now become spiritualist, authoritarian, and so on and so forth. We've managed to build Hustlemore Monastery, and this mostly exists as a place for us to create unity. But the first thing that I will create will be the Autochthon Monument. This will give me a little bit of unity from jobs as well as culture workers. Thrall World Vrl Zag has been stabilized. The people are a little bit upset. Now we are running martial law, but it is burning resources. So it's finally time that we got this to actually start contributing. First things first is we build the upgrade buildings for all of the resource types. Although in particular, we're most interested in mining from this planet. So we'll start building our mineral purification plants and get this place underway. I'm not expecting a whole lot of trade value from these guys, but once we have mineral purification plants and all this mining up, we'll start to actually generate resources here. Right now it's burning resources just to hold all these slaves here. It looks like some sort of devouring swarm has moved into the galaxy here. I have no idea what their power level is, but they could be genuinely devastating. It might take a combination of me and the Mandasura Empire to take them down. They seem to be fielding fleets in the 5,000 to 6,000 combat strength rating. We're only fielding in like the 3 to 4 to 5. So we need a little bit of work here to get that underway. Ooh, this is huge. We just unlocked Psionic Theory. This might open up Psionic Ascension actually, which maybe is the way that we should go. Yeah, maybe we'll go Psionic Ascension rather than Biological Ascension. I think that might be a little bit more interesting. As much as I would like to finish the Supremacy tree, I think I might have to go down the Diplomacy tree to form a federation. Although, this will make my ships 10% cheaper, and this does make my alloys go further. I think I just need to build up my power right now. We've already recently expanded, and these Raveners have just moved. God, they're just so massive. They're going to be a huge problem to deal with, these Raveners. Jesus. They are, well, they have 6,000 points, and we have 4,200. So I think me combined with the Mandrasura High Kingdom, we should be able to take them on. The Mandrasura High Kingdom just high rolled it. They got like incredibly, good roll stats. But I think we should start to see our power level start to scale up incredibly quickly as we build up these new worlds. Right, let's start to specialize some of these planets. Let's go ahead and demolish any buildings that we don't plan to keep. The planet of Vrl Takar will be my empire's foundry. Let us go ahead and switch this to be a forge world, and then we will begin building industrial districts. We will also grab ourselves some alloy foundries. This city exists to produce alloys to fuel our war machines so that we can actually fight the Vivisandia Raveners, who are going to become a bit of a galactic threat here. We're also bumping up against our influence cap, so I'm going to grab the nearest construction ship and see if we can't just nab a little bit of extra land. There's a couple of extra little star bases here and there that we may as well yoink up. Now, the thing about a ravening swarm is that you don't actually need to claim their territory to go to war with them. So I'm going to hold off on anything like that. However, over here on Elysium, I will be going ahead and upgrading this and fully fortifying this starbase with the maximum technology, maximum defense platforms. Literally, I will be building a fortress to end all fortresses on this station right here in order to hopefully provide as a speed bump for this devouring swarm that's going to be coming my way. Thankfully, I do have a defensive pact with the Mandasuras, so if they do attack either of us, we will be able to work together to take them out. Gothia Prime, on the other hand, this planet will be a factory world where we produce all of the consumer goods that our people need. That'll be the plan in the long run anyway. I need more mining worlds, actually. Perhaps this could be a mining world. Yeah, you know what? This will be a mining world. I need just like an absurd amount of minerals to fuel my empire now. I've got so many planets that need to build buildings. So having a mineral world would be quite nice, because even these thrall worlds aren't quite fueling just enough. I built a habitat over here in Almanac, the Alamac Monastery, and I built this for a very specific reason, and that is so that I could create a new sector here, which now encompasses this area. So now the Alamac Monastery controls all of these planets, and I have my capital sector and the Almanac sector, and I could, if I wanted to, in theory, release this sector as a free and independent thing. But more importantly, now I can assign a governor to this sector, which will allow me to develop these planets a little bit quicker. A big old planet like this, however, could serve quite well as a tech world. My tech is not terrible, but it is falling behind, so if I turn this into a tech world, I'll probably have an easier time getting things going. The Tale of Night Red Peril, Guidance of the Fae. The author has a mission for thee, Night Red Peril. The Lord Commander's voice was imperious. Sinopal's last databank has finally given up its secrets, and we've retrieved enough data for a speculative model of the toxic god's trajectory. Thy mission shall have 3 parts. First, thou art to investigate these coordinates. Second, shalt thou test our prototype armor. And finally, some time back, one of thy fellow knights disappeared at the very coordinates now provided by Sinopal. It is your task to discover what transpired there. The author's prototype neutronium armor was magnificent, a testament to the skill of its artisans. It was both sturdier and lighter than ever before. Its powerful shield generator was adorned with beautiful engravings, but these were mere trivialities compared to its greatest failure. Feature. The armor could now provide a direct connection to Sinopal, allowing the AI to provide guidance from anywhere in the galaxy. With this, Red felt ready for anything. Let's go and see what the next part of the toxic god chain is. A plea for help. Have mercy, my lord. I am naught but a peaceful pilgrim in need of aid. Persecuted for my belief in the toxic god, an entity most holy, I find myself hunted by a relentless foe. I beg thee, protect me, allow me to continue my pilgrimage in peace. Be not hasty, stranger, so I would like to protect them, but I want to know more about them. Ask your questions, but tarry not, for my pursuer is close. Who art thou? I'm known as Malignant, the order of the Baneful Glory. I am a humble pilgrim on the path to spiritual enlightenment. What is thy business here? Wandering the galaxy, I search the worlds the deity has visited, and I try to fleer out its motives for the putrid glory left in its wake. This world was once teeming with glorious noxious life. Alas, it now is naught but a blasted rock, sterilized by those who are not fit to see the beauty of the god's legacy. One day my pilgrimage is done. I shall hope to find the god and bask in its mephitic splendor. Who is hunting you? A blasphemous recusant, a zealous murderer, a guardian left behind those who destroyed this once beautiful place. It tried to kill me after identifying the relics I bear as their connection to the pestilent one. Have you met a knight of my likeness? They once agreed to the last tragedy. They were slain by my pursuer, and I was left fleeing once again. No more questions. I will help this stranger. O noble knight, if thou art to fight for me, please accept this charm. Its holographic field will help blur thy shape and make it harder for thine opponent to hit thee. The knight took it and then readied for battle. Wielding a colossal phase blade, her foe was heavily armoured. Shield sparked, armor was battered, and Red only narrowly avoided being beheaded. Her opponent somehow knew the Order's fighting style well. A hard hit landed on the Red Pearl's armor, shattering the holographic projector that had concealed her shape. The knight was sent tumbling to the ground. Her opponent prepared to strike the final blow, but froze mid-air as if surprised. Taking advantage of this moment of confusion, Red pounced, slicing through the opponent's armor, a killing blow. I think there's some wibbly-wobbly time circling happening here. I think there's something kind of odd going on. Oh, wonderful, how splendid. I never had such excitement in my own life. The stranger's cheers were loud and strangely out of character. Red Pearl turned to look at her defeated opponent. Their armor shimmered, and the holographic skin that had masked their true form was dispelled. In front of Red lay the remains of a knight of the Order. Oh nay, the stranger laughed. It seemed that you have slain one of thy fellow knights. How unfortunate. He tricked us. She knelt beside her fallen comrade, anguished at having been duped by the stranger's holograms. In a storage unit I fixed her coming. A databank filled. Oh, we were tricked. But we do get to improve our envenomed seas. So Tufson now will have room, let's see here, yeah, envenomed seas, plus one extractor and one gas extractor job. Interesting. So gas extractors, if you don't know, are the guys that give you access to strategic resources. So we're going to have a lot of extra gas floating around, which I'm quite a big fan of. I like having a lot of this. And speaking of which, we are going to unlock exotic gas extraction wells too. I'm kind of very curious about this. This god now. There's only 2 more events until we get to the final end of the chain. So there is potential here for there to be a bit of an upset, an interesting conclusion to this whole story arc. Also, my economy is now booming. We are surplus in everything. We have a massive amount of stockpiled minerals. We have a massive amount of stockpiled alloys. So let's go ahead and start upgrading our star hulls. Let's go ahead and start getting all that stuff underway. We'll take the final supremacy tradition, which will give us fleet command limit as well as admiral limit. More importantly, this will unlock war doctrines and the ability to take another ascension perk. So when it comes to policies, we'll come up here. Where's our war doctrine? Here it is, war doctrine. So it looks like we can't actually set it until we take an ascension perk or something. So we have quite a few choices here now, and a lot of them are really, really powerful. So kind of what I'm thinking about is Voidborn is quite good because we do have the ability to make habitats. This will give our habitats an additional 2 building slots and also allow us to upgrade our habitats. It'll increase their habitability. It'll make these habitats more powerful. This seems quite good. Shared Destiny is good if I want to go and dominate people and create fiefdoms and all that sort of stuff. Eternal Vigilance would make my fortresses even more powerful, but I don't want to be playing defensively. I want to be kind of doing more. Ooh, okay, so we could take Mind Over Matter to begin the Psionic Ascension as well. Or we could go for Engineered Evolution to start going for gene modification. Clone vats are really, really nice, actually. And Gene Seed Purification too. Do I want to go for Psionic or biological ascension? I think I've made my choice. I think my people are very spiritual. We're living with a god. Let us go down the psionic ascension path. I sat here and I thought about it for a little while. This is going to create a new event where latent psionic will appear across my population. So now if I go and inspect my population, they have this trait right here, which is giving them a 5% boost to yields in science and energy. And my people are becoming psionic. We can actually even recruit psionic armies, I believe, in certain places. Really, really cool stuff. My people are becoming psychic. They're becoming connected with the toxic god. We are becoming one of his children. And speaking of one of his children, we should design a new ship. Up until now, my fleet doctrine has been fairly split, right? This is my laser ship. These are my gunner ships. Do I want to introduce perhaps a reason for my enemies to want to build point defense? I think not. I think what I would like these to do is perhaps my cruisers could act as artillery ships, focusing on sitting back at a long range and firing from afar. So we're going to turn our ships into artillery who will sit at the far back. They'll be well defended. And speaking of which, now that we have access to the cruiser, we're going to start adding cruisers to all of our fleets. Okay, we're designing fleets, so we got 30 corvettes. We'll rebalance these fleets as time goes on. But for now, I think this is a reasonable setup. I think we will draw back. And ideally, we would like to get to 10 or so of each type of ship. But we need a total of 18,000. 18,000 alloys to reinforce our fleet. So you can kind of see why I want to build a Forge world, a world that is entirely dedicated to just churning out an infinite number of alloys. It looks like we've been boxed in a little bit by the Mandasura people. They have taken these guys here and these guys here as their vassals. I don't even know how they managed to do that. That's kind of baffling, actually. I don't know how they did it. I genuinely have no idea what they did, but apparently they just have vassals, which is really annoying and frustrating for me because I don't have vassals. It's time to start upgrading our research buildings and also to specialize the capital away from alloys. Since we now have a planet that is dedicated towards ally production and our capital is really, really good at generating both unity and science, I think I'd like to specialize it back towards science. The capital is usually a good place to have as a science base. It's usually the heart of your empire. You usually want it to either be producing science or unity, and I do think science is a little bit better in terms of the metagame, so I'll be turning that into a science powerhouse. It is time for a new ascension path. And what do we have here? We have adaptability, diplomacy, domination, harmony, subterfuge, prosperity, and mercantile. Don't think we're going to be going down the mercantile route. I think we're either going to be going for domination or diplomacy. Domination would give us access to more housing, ruler cap, extra unity, production boosts from our workers. Prosperity is quite good though. That's a 5% boost to all to all jobs production, 5 stability, upkeep reduction, specialist pop output, city districts, additional clerk jobs, additional housing. I think prosperity is just really, really good for us right now. This is going to increase our overall output. 20% mining station output as well is just making our empire even more efficient. Like, we're already just cranking. We're positive on everything. We have massive amounts of food. We have so much food that we don't even know what to do with it. In fact, I have so much spare food that I feel like I can just start dismantling food districts on my capital and start to replace them with city districts so I can build even more research labs. We're starting to enter into what I would consider to be the second phase of the game. And we're entering into it quite late. Usually you get here quite a bit faster. But what we've reached here is now we're reaching a point where we start to have to specialize our different planets, which is kind of a fun and interesting place to get to, because it's been a long time coming, where instead of having planets produce a variety of goods, they start to hyper specialize. They start to only produce one type of good. I could really use a generator world, and perhaps Viral Watra will be that. I'm just not making enough money, so let's go ahead and demolish some stuff in here. Right now this is a basic mining world, but I think what we're going to do is just spam like 3 generators and grab ourselves an energy grid in here, just so we can get real resources. Actually, I'm going to cancel one of those generators and instead replace this mining district with one. Yeah, it's just I need a little bit of cash. Most of my other resources are in really good shape. I could probably actually justify even going into my capital and getting rid of even more of these farming districts for city districts. Ideally, I want my capital to be producing tier 2 resources, not tier 1 resources. Energy, minerals, and food are all tier 1 resources. I want my capital to be producing like science, unity, alloys, all that sort of stuff. Now I can recruit Psi Corps now. Now let's see, right? Psi Corps are 22 unity, 70 crime, 10% productivity, or I could build a temple, which is 20 unity and 4 amenities. I think I'm going to go start building Psi Corps. These will allow me to just completely keep crime under control and generate a ton of unity. The Tale of Knight Unkind, the Witch of the Woods. It came to pass that during the travels of Knight Unkind Grouch, an otherwise obscure and disfavoured knight, she happened upon a signal emanating from a debris field in the space between the stars. She speedily laid it a course to investigate closer. As she neared the source, she heard a beautiful voice, calling from across the ether. "O brave knight, I have waited for thee for millennia, hoping that thou would come to my celestial forest. Now that thou art here, I hope that thou wilt spare me the time for a visit to mine own humble abode. I promise yond thou shall find it worthwhile." A small station had appeared as if from nowhere. Impetuously, the years of fruitless searching having made her impatient for a stroke of fortune, Unkind moved her craft to dock with it. Be cautious, it could be a trap. I don't know if it will be a trap. We'll find out. As Knight Unkind Grouch boarded the station, she was greeted by a feminine being of incredible beauty. She looked like a blurgling, and yet there was no mistake that she was an entity far more advanced. She smiled, and Unkind realized her concept of attractiveness had been limited, even constrained until now. She felt an uncontrollable lust growing within herself. "I am Siamel, spirit of wayfarers and vagabonds. And it has been deemed the worthy," she drawled. She looked Unkind up and down. "Aye, worthy forsooth." Siamel smiled again, invitingly this time, stepping closer to take Unkind by the grappler. "I wish to partake in amorous rice with thee." "Oh dear. Nay, thou shalt not tempt us." Sorry, we are paladins. We shall not be tempted by the pleasures of the flesh. As Unkind Grouch reached for her weapon, Siamel's eyes flashed with anger. "Thou wouldst spurneth me. I curse thee and thy people. Thou shalt never know the embrace of a lover, nor the fiery lust of true desire. Thou shalt be forth to procreate as machines do. Now be gone, before I changeth my own mind, and killeth thee instead." She took an android, a hold of a device that Unkind had not noticed before, and suddenly she was not there, though she could feel her presence, watching, despising. The chronicles would later record as the turning point in the children of Blargal history. The witch's curse was in some ways a blessing, for no longer could the knights be distracted by carnal desires, and mechanical reproduction of the populace would be just as effective as biological reproduction in its own way. Oh, interesting. So Siamel's curse has been added to the children of Blurgle. So now, now I wish I'd gone for biological ascension. This would have been so cool. So our population growth reduction is 50%. Now we get +3 organic pop assembly. We have the Lover's Pox modifier, which means we get 100% population reduction, but squires now produce organic pop assembly. That is an interesting outcome to that thing, because now we're assembling blurglings. I really wish I'd gone for biological ascension. This would have worked really, really well with cloning vats. I would have been able to assemble population really, really fast. So now this is actually kind of a big deal. Even though we're suffering a 50% growth debuff, we have so many positive buffs that this is actually really big for us, because now we're growing 2 population per planet, essentially. Like if we come over here to no malice intended, ooh, this is not growing very fast. Why is this not growing very fast? We have the Lover's Pox Oh, there it is. Pop growth reduction, 100%. Squires produce extra pop growth. Oh, damn, we're assembling population incredibly fast in here because of the squires. That's actually huge. That's really, really cool. So no longer will my civilization reproduce, at least my people. We in fact, well, I mean, I think technically we still can reproduce because we can still enforce blurgling growth. So this is just straight up a population buff here. Like, we now grow faster, which is totally, I'm on board with that. That sounds great. And I can assemble any biological pop that I feel like. That was a really cool outcome. So we're on to the final phase of the quest for the Toxic God. We will be knowing what the outcome is in 143 months. We did just get new technology. Oh, right, we get networked relays. So this is a really, really cool thing. We have hyper relay construction, which if I go down to my construction ships now, although I'm building 3 habitats as it stands, so we'll have to do that a little bit later. But essentially what the hyper relay allows us to do is, normally there's a bit of travel time between systems, like boom, 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 boom. You have to say I wanted to go from Ithium to Breek here. I would have to fly to Ithium's edge, warp here, then kind of walk my way over to Breek, and then warp to Breek. And there's kind of a whole process. With the hyper relay, you can bounce boing, boing, boing from system to system. It's like a motorway essentially through your space. So that's really cool. We now have access to hyper relays. We'll start building some of them very soon. Right, let's go ahead and take building and district upkeep. This is going to help my energy income. Energy is always a problem in my games, but this should give us a nice boost of energy. So now we're spending a lot less on upkeep. One big problem that we have is we're kind of backed into a corner and we can't really escape from our system. So we're going to have to start building tall. That's why I've started to construct habitats, which I'm pretty sure means once I finish prosperity, I'm going to need to take Voidborn so I can actually upgrade my habitats to being real planets. When I say real planets, I don't mean that they're like actual planets. I mean that they're better than what they currently are. Like right now, my habitats are tiny. They can only fit like 4 districts on them. And I think you can get them up to size 8, I want to say, which is like pretty reasonable for a habitat. One other thing I need to start doing now, because I have a surplus of influence, is to start doing mastery of nature on more planets so that I can upgrade the size of my planets. And also I need to do more of these planetary blockers. My planet quality is relatively high, but it's still not where it needs to be. Okay, the 100 Years Quest. 100 years ago, we took to the stars. It was a new beginning for us and the quest, with seemingly infinite opportunities opening to us. A century has passed, our population feels divided, but while our achievements are undeniable, there are voices doubting the purpose of the knights in the quest, and they're just relics of a bygone age. So, I can get motivated knights for 5 years, which is unity, happiness, and output, or I could say we have no time for such trifles, which would lower the output. I can end the quest. No. Not a chance. Not a chance. I've invested so much in this quest. I'm truly invested in the outcome. I can't let this be the end of the quest. No way. I'm going to invest here to get even more unity, happiness, and output. Hell yeah. The quest is everything. The quest is everything to our people. We've sacrificed so much of our income and so much of our productivity to this quest. I can't imagine not doing the quest anymore. All right, sweet. We have our very first hyper relay, which allows us to build a chain of boosted. Now, they're pretty expensive. 500 alloys, 25 influence. The 500 alloys is pretty expensive. I think I would prefer to be building stations. And I want to look for good stations. Like, here's a good little research station. I want to find... well, what I would really like is like a hydroponics. Well, no. Yeah, I want to like find a good hydroponic station, which honestly could fit basically anywhere. So I'm going to maybe put a hydroponic station in Luthadriel. No, that's a science station. Do I have any unoccupied planets? No. You don't want to... So basically... when you're building a habitat, the planet that it's built around actually dictates some of the district's abilities in a habitat. So if I build a habitat around a planet that has minerals, I can actually make that into a mining habitat and starts to extract resources from the planet underneath. So for example, if we take it the Lombidius 6 habitat, it can actually generate energy, which is my plan with this district, which is why I'm going to call it Lombidus Reactor, because its entire purpose is to generate energy. My factory, my consumer goods has started to decline, so I'm going to come in here to Cam Prime, which is my factory world. I'm going to go ahead and upgrade the civilian fabricators. This will increase the amount of consumer goods each of my artisans will produce, but it will also increase the amount of minerals they consume. Now, if we take a look at an artisan, right? Currently, an artisan produces a baseline of 6 consumer goods, but consumes a baseline of 6 minerals. So by upgrading this will increase the efficiency of each individual job, thus making this planet more efficient. I don't know what to do with Breek Prime. It's a relatively small planet. I suppose I could turn this into a small farming colony to cover my food needs, as I'm also in a deficit of food. And you want to be a positive in all of those resources. Here's another nice boost here, 5% specialist pop resources. Specialists are your tier 2 type of worker. You have 3 tiers of workers. You have rulers, specialists, and workers. Workers produce basic resources like mining goods, like fishing, whereas specialists produce research, they produce consumer goods, they produce everything that is important to your empire on a very large strategic level. They will produce those things, and a 5% boost to that output just means my economy is slowly becoming more and more efficient. The big thing I could probably use is a second factory world, or forge world. So I think Tomb World Viril Watre is going to be converted into a forge world now. We'll get the transition underway. Lovely. We have +1 Irasian artifact. Now, we have been working on the Irasian quest as well. There are the precursors here. We need another 3 relics in order to truly unlock the potential here. Message in the bottle might be a push in the direction of the Irasian being unlocked. We might also have to look elsewhere. We haven't yet. Normally I would have that completed by now. It could also be that I should probably clear out this planet right here. Let's go ahead and grab a fleet to go clear out this planet. Probably should have done this a long time ago. It's okay that I didn't, but it might have been a good move. So we have founded our energy Lombardus reactor, and our goal is to, I think it's 3 reactor districts is what you go for, and then you go for 1 habitation. I'm trying to remember correctly. Yeah, it's like habitation plus 3 reactors. No, it's 2 reactors and an entertainment district, and then you add the energy grid, and then as we are able to expand and build up this station, it will have more room for stuff. Our capital still has more room for research labs. There's like an insane amount of researchers on here. We've got 24 researchers. We're cranking out over 200 science per category almost. So a few more research labs in here upgraded, and we'll be just really cranking. Although I would like to get 1 psi core. I think I'm still researching the tech that'll allow me to get, yeah, I just finished the tech. So what I want to do in here is now upgrade my capital building. This will essentially overall just improve the planet by a very marginal amount. It'll give you more politician and high priest jobs and stuff like that. And then once that's built, we should be able to actually build the psi core in here and get ourselves that 44 unity, 70 crime reduction, and 10% job output, which is just insane. My empire is becoming incredibly productive. We're converting so many resources to unity and physics, all that sort of stuff. It's really fun. It might be worth it to look at some edicts. We have like 1 million of them unlocked, and we have a huge amount of surplus unity. This is quite handy. Pop consumer goods input. We still have Map the Stars activated. I think we can probably turn that off now. Veneration of Saints is still active. I think I like that one. Research subsidies. I think I'm going to take research subsidies. This will increase the researcher output by 10%. Eventually, I would like to have all of these activated. You know, nutritional plentitude increases your pop upkeep, but gives them a lot of growth. Capacity subsidies makes your energy technicians more efficient, all this sort of stuff. But I don't want to burn my unity income because I do need to get to the next ascension perk. So I kind of like trying to be conservative with how much unity I'm spending. Interesting. We found a small species of fungal people who we have just filled up into this station. So now there's just 7 new little fungal people who like to live on habitats. Ooh, that's a useful species for me to get. That's going to make my life very easy. It's going to help me fill up my habitats nice and quick. They'll be a little bit upset for a while we get things underway. I don't understand why. It's the hydroponics dedication. Habitation districts give 2 less housing in exchange for +1 farmer job. I see. That makes sense. But yeah, we're cranking out so much science. So now we're completing techs in like 5 months per tech. It's insane, like how quickly my empire is just becoming overwhelming. And it's all off the back of this massive science gain. Ooh, we found an Irasian mining base over here. Let's go ahead and investigate that. Hopefully that'll get us another step. Then we only need 2 more insights into the Irasians to discover their home world. I'm wondering if it's worth it to consider modifying my actual species here, my blurglings. I don't think I necessarily want to start modifying my species. I'm happy with the way my species are. I don't think they need to be changed. Ooh, time for level 3 research complexes. Now that's going to start to put a real strain on my gas income. I still do have pretty good gas income, but I'm going to have to start to create stations specifically for producing gas to fuel my expansion. The quest for the toxic god has reached its final phase. Deceived and betrayed, half-hearted met her fate at the hands of a dark wizard. Engulfed in purple smoke, she disappeared, never to be seen again. On yon day, we lost a most gentle knight, one of the founders of the Order. Here ended the history of Knight Half-Hearted. Centuries ago, chronicles wrote about the death of a knight half-hearted yet confused, who helped create the Order and witness the toxic god's visit to our world. Today, however, an addendum to the chronicles will have to be written, for half-hearted yet confused has returned. The Order investigated an energy spike on Tufson and met Half-Hearted, freshly returned from interdimensional travel. She had been discreetly taken in by the Order, who will verify her identity and tell her what happened while she was away. I think we should celebrate this. One of our founding knights has come home. Let us celebrate the return of a great knight. What a wonderful and glorious day. Greetings, I am Squire Unshelved. Knight half-hearted yet confused would like to meet with thee. She stands ready to face our questions and tell us what has happened. She has been brought up to speed on our technological progress and seems to be acclimatizing well. But our mindset is very different. Our core values are similar, but sometimes have stout opinions about the way our society has evolved. Best avoid these topics for now. We shall see her. Visiting letter. Finally, you deign to visit me. So thou art what passes as a king these days. I possess important knowledge about the toxic god meant strictly for the king. I expect thou hast many questions. Let's have a look here. How are you settling in? So much has changed. I bethought I was returning home, only to realise yond home doesn't exist anymore. Everyone I knew is long dead, and only the chronicles can enlighten me as to what hath occurred. I recognise not this world, but at least the order is still here. The quest goes on, and mine duty is clear. Art all the tales about you true? The chronicles are truthful, but there are minor variations, but for the most part, those gents only maketh our mission reports more readable. I did it slay 100 fiends and braved many dangers for the heart of a maid. Not that it matters in the present day, the lady is as dead as the others. What happened during your exile? I'm not sure. The people told me I had travelled to another dimension. To me, it seemed like a years-long dream with no awakening. Nothing made sense, neither what I perceived nor my own feelings. All that saw me through the ordeal were memories. Recollections of people I have known, those I've loved and those I did not. The wizard who sent me there, as well as my own wrath, and especially the one who holds the key to my heart. If it was chaos, but in the end I gleaned some precious insight into the process. You said you could help us find the toxic god. During my own exile, I did see things like looking through a fractured mirror. The same scene repeated again and again with tiny variations. Much of what I saw was so nonsensical, but some were about people I knew. One was a mage that cast me out. That was on a lone rock surrounded by stars. There he did craft his seal, something toxic, perhaps the gods himself. I did talk with the Lord Commander, and he seems to have enough clues to find this place. We only need your permission to leave. Prepare the knights and leave at once. We must go find the place where the toxic god rests. We have spent 100 years questing for him. We must know the resolution. I'm really excited to see what the resolution of this is. The data point recovered with Sinopal's help has allowed us to chart the path followed by the toxic god and pinpoint to the system where it might have gone next. However, upon entering the space, he reacted immediately. He's here. I can sense his presence. We follow directions to a forlorn moon. Upon landing, our knights were immediately confronted by none other than the trickster, previously encountered by Red Peril and half-hearted yet confused in the days of old. You are persistent, but this is the end of your quest. My own master shall not tolerate your foolish beliefs to fail the balance of the shroud any more than they already haven't. There is no toxic god, and soon the toxic knights will be no more. And the trickster fell silent, and we registered multiple signatures entering the system. Oh, shroud entities. The Order's fleet was beset by energy beings summoned by the trickster. At the same time, on the moon itself, our valiant knights were set upon by a host of shroud beasts conjured by the rogue shroud walker. Our knights were driven back until the Lord Commander rallied them for the Order. The shout echoed across the battlefield. The knights reformed ranks around the commander and drove once more to the fray. At the heart of the melee, Knife half-hearted laughed, revelling in the purity of combat. At least one thing remained unchanged while she had begun. Suddenly the knights broke through. Only the trickster stood before them. The rogue Shroudwalker unleashed a blast of psionic energy aimed at the Lord Commander. In the last moment, half-hearted yet confused, dove to intercept the attack. Knight Unkind Grouch, famous for her encounter with Siamel, delivered the final blow to the trickster. Foul knights, may your people fall to woe and your knowledge all be forgotten. The trickster's last words sizzled with malign energy. On the ground, half-hearted was also about to expire. Chronicles would later repeat her last words. Rather he slayeth me than my liege, for my death shall not be great harm, not half as much as his. So we will get a happiness and research penalty for 2 years. As a result of that, I got to deal with some of these things. I got research output things to update. Ooh, Research Institute. This will be big. This will allow me to build the research director, science director, who will increase the science output on my capital. Really looking forward to that one. And then Unity, I'm going to take buildings are cheaper and build faster. That seems like a reasonable thing to do. 2 Unity points away from getting a next ascension perk. I'm really excited for that. Okay, the quest for the toxic dog, opening the door. In the aftermath of battle, the knights searched every inch of the moon. At last, deep within the southern reaches, they discovered a baneful contraption left by the trickster. Energy thrummed as cracks appeared in the machine with the death of its creator. It was gradually unraveling. Streams of psionic energy spilled forth. Within moments, the machine was reduced to a cinder. From orbit, the ships reported a strange subspace phenomena at the edge of the system. Gravity itself has shifted to accommodate restoration of blocked hyperlane. The resulting energies unleashed a powerful EMP, frying most of the systems aboard the Order's ships. To fully understand what transpired that day, we'll have to send a fleet of our own. So that concludes the quest for the toxic god situation. That is it. Now we just need to figure out what's the next phase. So it points here to Intham. Oh, there's a toxic god here. All right, so I got to go ahead and fly a fleet in there. So I think it's time we started building up a fleet, because I think we might be gearing up for a little bit of a battle with an ancient deity. Let's get ourselves some psionic admirals. Let's get these fleets built up. I did fully finish these fleets. Yeah, each one has 80 max strength. So we're going to have to start reinforcing. I'm going to need a lot of strategic materials to reinforce my fleets. I think my current fleets now are 8.2k in strength. So we might be able to get to a point now. We spent a lot of time building up our economy, building planets. So I'm thinking we might be able to push into a war with the Raveners. And the Vivisunda Raveners are honestly a galactic scale threat right now. They've expanded massively, and if I can just grab a few systems off them, that would increase my power level to the point where I might be able to challenge the Mandosura Kingdom, because the Mandosura Kingdom is just insane right now. Right, let's come into our capital here. And we need to super hyper optimize this planet. One way that we're going to do that is to replace one of these research institutes. Actually, you know what? I don't think I need the gene clinics anymore. I don't think we need the pop growth. So I think I replace the gene clinics, because that's about growing a planet. And if I plug in a research institute, this will give me a science director. And then that should kind of make this planet just absurd, like super, super absurd at producing what we need. Now that I'm not like burdened with the quest for the toxic god, my economy is insane. I'm nearly producing 200 alloys per month. Ooh, the Brienne Coalition is pledging secret fealty to me. Interesting. So that's these guys over here. So it looks like they're pledging secret fealty towards us. They are xenophobe militarists. They're at war with the Federal Civilized Holy World Purge. Oh, they got themselves killed. They got themselves killed by a stagnant ascendancy. A fallen empire seems to have awoken and destroyed them. But yeah, I think our next step is to deal with the toxic god, and then perhaps see about defeating this ravenous hive. That this is what we've been building up towards, is to take out this ravenous hive. And also we need to continue along our psychic ascension. I don't believe it. I think I accidentally muted my microphone somehow. But essentially, Morpus will find the footage. We tried to make a confrontation with the toxic god, and we got absolutely obliterated. Our entire fleet was completely eviscerated. The toxic god is hostile. It's an ancient galactic threat that we need to go figure out and beat. I think I'm going to need bigger fleets and better technology, so I'm going to focus on upgrading my ship tech. I'm getting battleships, I'm getting antimatter reactors, I'm getting fortresses. I need larger and more fleets, and I need better ships. My ship tech isn't terrible, but I think the auto-completed design here, you know, if I auto-complete this ship, we can add regenerative hull tissue to it. We can add better lasers. I think this will be a significant upgrade. But yeah, I accidentally muted myself. I love you all very much, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. We're going to try to take on the Vivistanda Raveners and the Toxic God, hopefully in the next episode. But that's it for now. I love you all. Bye-bye.